You don't know it yet, but this player is going to be the surprise star for the Baylor Bears in 2026.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is brought to you today by Kalshi. I am Cam Stewart, your host, and of course joining us as she does every Wednesday. It wouldn't be a Wicker Wednesday without Sydney Wicker of KCEN, Channel 6. Sydney,
Cam.
It's a great day.
It's a beautiful day. Gotta love it.
That's all I got for you. That's all I got for you right now. No, we're going to be talking plenty. We're going to be talking about the best team on campus for Baylor right now. We're going to be talking about Baylor football's new undisputed leader, like the guy that everyone has rallied around. Wouldn't have thought this a couple months ago. And speaking of surprising, we're going to start with the players that will break out and shock you for Baylor in 2026 and potentially lead the Bears to a bowl game. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. Because Sydney, I don't know what it is. I'm getting closer to the season. I was actually really down and out in the last episode of Locked On Baylor, previously seen on Locked On Baylor. But I'm starting to feel okay about this team. I don't know if it's just the hopium and copium in me as a Baylor fan, but the closer we get to this season, I just don't think they're that bad. I don't know that they'll be all that good, but I don't think they'll be that bad, which in college football leads to bowl games, which I think Baylor fans would take this year.
Yeah, you've got that little glitter of hope in your eyes, right?
A bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'm talking myself into it. I don't know.
It's hard not to, just like during this talking season, I think, to get so excited for your team, because that's all we know is just the anticipation. Every team thinks they're good until they take that week one test and they have that battle where they finally go against somebody else and you start to get a read on who this team really is. But when I've talked to the Bears so far in fall camp, and even when we had a chance at Big 12 Media Days, it just felt different and everybody feels lighter. And this team's like, okay, whatever. We weren't good last year. Who cares? Like, This is a new season, and you can really feel that fresh slate across the board when it comes to this team and how prepared they are to kick off the season.
And in recent Baylor memory, that has helped them out a lot. Like, there's since really the Art Briles era, since that ended, anytime they've had expectations, it really hasn't gone well. When nobody believes in them, sometimes it goes really well. You know, the times that things have gone well has been when nobody has believed in them, I think is the better way to put it right there. And this does have a bit of a different tenor to it. There's more of a confidence, I feel like, with these guys. But with so many new players here, either guys who haven't really played yet in the Baylor system, who've been practicing but not really playing, or guys that have come in through the portal, there's plenty of opportunity, I would say, for a breakout star. And if Baylor is going to be a bowl team and be a good team, they're going to need a few breakout stars. So what I did this week is I texted Sydney Wicker and I said, let's get one of each for this 2026 Baylor football season. So, Sydney of KCEN Channel 6, who is Baylor's breakout star of 2026?
You know, Kim, I was thinking about it. I'm like, there's so many, I think, guys that we could list as a breakout, which I kind of love, that there's so much versatility. And like, you could really break it down like room by room of a guy that you think is going to shine in each one. But I think for me, when it comes to a player who I think is going to have a breakout season, we saw a taste of him a little bit last year, but now going into this year, I think he's a really good chance to shine. And that's Lewis Brown. I love this guy's track record. I obviously love that he spent some time at my alma mater, Colorado State, which, by the way, used to be wide receiver U. We had Michael Gallup, lots of good guys come through there. Hollywood Brown came through there. You know, they had some good guys out wide and had a pretty good track record for a while. So I think just the coaching staff that they've maintained at Colorado State, guys who have come in and out of that program, a lot of times wide receivers have really shined at CSU. And I think when you have a guy like DJ Lagway, who has said constantly he loves how freely he's playing, well, let's see you play free, air it out a little bit, hit guys like Lewis Brown. And I think he could potentially be a huge breakout breakout guy. We've seen how much Spav has used wide receivers and the versatility he has in his wide receiver room. So when it comes to the offense, I think Lewis Brown's a guy who has the potential to be a big breakout star in 2026.
I can't help but hear that you did say CU in there.
No, CSU. Are we gonna play it back?
You said we can see you doing it, and I'm like, oh man, there she is. Not really a Ram. But all jokes aside, I love that pick. I do. Because again, like, are coaches gonna go to the podium and bash players? No, obviously not. But for over a year now, we have heard them truly sing the praises of Lewis Brown the fourth, unprompted. They have said this is a guy, and he's such a good down the field threat, and has been throughout his now pretty long college career. That I think that unleashes the best of DJ Lagway if Lewis Brown the fourth can be that kind of player, and a guy who I think really made a mature decision to say, I'm gonna redshirt so that I am ready to hit the field when my time comes, and ready to play at this level and under this offensive coordinator. So I really love that from Lewis Brown the fourth, and I love that pick. I think he's going to be a huge part of whatever this offense does this year, good, bad, or otherwise, but hopefully pretty good. This is serendipitous because I'm going to go on the defensive side. I had a couple for each. Lewis Brown the fourth was on the short list for sure, and it's kind of the same thing. I didn't go with a guy who came in the portal this year. I didn't go with a freshman, but went with a guy who had already transferred in, and we only got to see a little bit of last year. Lewis Brown the fourth went and did the red shirt. Travion Barnes got hurt, and Travion Barnes is my pick. He, I think, has the second or third biggest shoes to fill, I would say, on the team. Obviously DJ's got to step in for Sawyer, and there's a couple other guys you can name. Hosea Wheeler doesn't have big shoes to fill, but really needs to fill the shoes that are in front of him. Travion Barnes basically being a replacement for Keaton Thomas now is such a huge spot for this Baylor defense. And if he comes back, we talk about this with Dawson Pendergrass, but if Travion Barnes comes back and is playing at the level that he was before, this is an all Big 12 kind of player. Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year his last year at FIU, third in the nation in tackles per game. It just sounds so much like Keaton Thomas, who was an all Big 12 player. I think Travion Barnes is very much capable of that, being the kind of the quarterback on the defense. And while I think Hosea Wheeler is the most important player on the defense, this is the guy who's calling the plays. Travion Barnes calling the plays on the field, and has a chance to be the tackling machine that, honestly, Dave Aranda's done a good job of having one of those on the roster every year. There's not always the case, but he has done a good job of having a guy like Travion Barnes. I think he can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I think something too, you mentioned him kind of being the quarterback of that side of the ball and being that leader. The one thing that he has over Hosea Wheeler is the fact that he was a part of this team last year. He gets the culture, like regardless of how many games he was a part of or not, he gets the culture and he understands. And it seems like they've only emphasized that this offseason than anything, is how important it is to buy in to what Baylor's done. We've seen Aranda in his selfie videos. He's preaching his culture to everyone. Yeah. And now to have that guy who understands it, even though it's different with Clandreman now, and there's going to be a lot of changes on the defense than what we saw last year. He's a guy who's familiar with the expectation, and he's able to be that voice and kind of be the different voice, I think, from Wheeler and to balance out that defense. So I'm excited for him. He's going to be a guy who's not only going to be a breakout, but a comeback player. And I think you're going to see that chippiness and that grittiness from him right from week one.
Yeah, and something the coaches have talked about was like a mentality shift of like getting healthy, and that obviously is your main focus when you have an injury that's as bad as the one Travion Barnes had last year. To then switch to, all right, I'm back and I need to get to 100%, but I also need to be a leader. I also need to be a starter and a kind of a tone setter on this team. And it sounds like Travion Barnes has risen to that so far in the spring and into fall camp, where he's really started to hit the field again. So very excited. And look, there's just not many guys that you can look at on this team and say, that's an all Big 12 kind of player. I think there's 3 or 4 on the whole team, including the punter. And I think Travion Barnes is one of those. So Travion Barnes, Lewis Brown the fourth, take the ball and run with it. Yeah. Literally, please do that. Just run in the right direction, please. Who is your breakout star for Baylor football in 2026? Let us know in the comment section below. Then like the video and subscribe to the channel. But don't go anywhere because we're not done yet. We talked about the breakout stars, but Baylor has a new leader on this team. And it's not the one that everyone's been talking about for a long time. This is the story of camp for me so far. That is coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode of Locked On Baylor is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. I went to the Red Sox game last night because I used Game Time, man. It's so easy to do. Get last-second tickets, and it's the most reliable source for me. What I love about it is they make the game so easy. Whether it's a game, concert, comedy show, anything that needs a ticket, okay? You don't want the confusing checkout process. You don't want the surprise fees. That's what you don't get with Game Time, okay? You actually see the price that you're going to pay up front when you go on the app. You see the view from your seat before you buy, and you get zone deals and exclusive saving opportunities to help you get to the events that you want to without the usual hassle. Literally like an hour before the game, I could just go to Game Time, click on the Red Sox, find the best price ticket, best deal, which it tells me, and then head on over to the ballpark. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON. Locked On. All one word, all caps for $20 off. Download the Game Time app and do it tomorrow? No. Today. Back here on Locked On Baylor. I'm Cam Stuart. Sydney Wicker from KCEN Channel 6 is right there. Sydney, last segment, we talked about the breakout star for 2026. And I talked about Travion Barnes. I did not ask you this beforehand. I'm going to throw a pop quiz at you. If Travion Barnes is not the best and most important player on defense for Baylor, who is?
I mean, I feel like you kind of have to go with the guy who might be a national champion.
Oh, thank God. I was worried. You got it right. We're going with Hosea Wheeler. We've talked about him a lot. Like, obviously, a huge addition to get his eligibility in line. Coming in from Indiana, where he did win a national championship, got a ring on his finger, and was a fairly big part of that defense, actually. Not every single down, but a guy who was a big rotational piece for the national champions. We talked about that news last week, but obviously you've been to practice, Sydney. I mean, you can feel it. You can feel the excitement around this player in particular and the way that coaches and people around the team are talking about him. This is a huge boost.
Oh, yeah, big time. And you can just tell how important his role is on the team already and how excited the team was. Like last week, we talked about Clanderman pretty much saying, like, yeah, we kind of need this guy. Like, we're banking on him being here. Experience in general is just important. And then to just be able to be a part of this team and the leadership he brings just really sets the tone for the defense as a whole.
You're excited. I'm excited. Ja'Cory Greer, his position coach, is also excited. Trust me, because now it's not playing. But Ja'Cory Greer talked about at practice how excited he was. My producer is telling me that now we have the sound. Let's listen to Ja'Cory Greer.
Oh boy, I was fired up. You know, I went home that night before and prayed and put it in God's hands. And luckily for us, it worked out in the way we wanted it to. You know, from a leadership standpoint, he gives us something different. From a playing standpoint, he does all the little things right. And so he's vital for our success, but we're excited to have him.
Yeah, Ja'Cory, we are all excited. We are. And I want to focus in on something he says there, because obviously we know Hosea Wheeler is a game wrecker. That's what I've been so excited about, something that Baylor hasn't had for a couple of years. I think he can really help on that defensive line, help both the run block or the run defense as well as the pass rush. But he talks about leadership in there. We hear that all the time. You'd expect a guy with that much experience to come in and, obviously playing for Indiana and winning a national championship last year to have some leadership ability. That's great. But Hosea, who went in front of the media the other day, was also asked about wearing the number 0 and being a single digit number. And he kind of dropped the good kind of bombshell, the story about him getting the number. So this you can talk about, coaches can talk about leadership because they do it all off season long, but hearing a story like this kind of changes it.
It was a blessing. It's a story behind that, actually. So Michael Allen actually got number 0, and he seen what I was going through, and he was like, I know how much 0 means to you. I literally have it tatted on my back, and he gifted me 0 in front of the entire team. So that's how big of a leader Michael Allen is. He's just a great guy, great leader, great teammate. And yeah, that's how I got 0. But everybody was okay with it. Everybody cheered when I got it, and that meant a lot to me.
Michael Allen, man, he just keeps popping up in these great circumstances, gives up the number. Some people don't say number, but gives up the 0 jersey to Hosea Wheeler and says, basically, we're rallying around you. Like, Sydney, I think I'm in for schmaltzy stuff like this, sports movie stuff like this. I love hearing that story, and it kind of took me by surprise just how much they're rallying around this guy.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes to their connection that they have in the locker room. Like, we see them, obviously supporting each other on the field and hyping each other up after a good play or, a good hit or anything. But to know that Michael cared enough about his journey and how much this number meant to him to say, hey, it's not important to me. You're coming here to be a big part of this team. I'm going to give it to you. And it's just that easy. I think that really speaks to how connected this team is even off the field, which is a good part of this too. Every little element adds up and translates to Saturdays when we get there. And I loved this story. I'm so glad that he was able to get that number. And I really feel like this speaks volumes to this team right now.
I agree with you. It's a little thing. And look, if they go 4-8, I'll probably make fun of this whole thing. I will. But I can't help it. These are the kinds of things that it feels like you do look back on in a good season and be like, man, it's something like that. Something like, we heard Jacob Redding talk about this a week or two ago about the outside noise and that his dad, will send him articles or possibly podcast clips when people speak ill of Jacob, which I don't think happens very much, or the Baylor defense, which does happen a lot. And he's just talking about blocking it out. And so there is kind of an us against the world mentality already in that locker room of nobody outside of these walls really believes in us. Everyone thinks our coach should be fired and should have been fired a while ago. They think we can't play. They think our quarterback is finished. They think we're grasping at straws with this player, Hosea Wheeler. And they are actually rallying around this. They are coming together over something like, Hosea Wheeler's eligibility fight. So I buy stock in that. I do. And again, they're going to go in game 1, Sydney. They're going to go on the road in an NFL stadium in a somewhat hostile environment. They're definitely going to be the road team against a team that isn't all that great, but nobody thinks they can beat. So it's things like these that I'm like, maybe something is starting to brew here.
Yeah, this is when you're like, Netflix, roll the cameras.
Yeah.
The documentary going. We want to see all the behind the scenes because this is where it feels special. And I think this takes us back to what you said in the first segment, just if this team seems to play their best when they're the underdogs and there's no expectation for them. They want to hear that they're not going to have a good season and that, Baylor's going to be Baylor again. And that's the standard, is to not even make it to a bowl game. But this team feels so motivated and so connected. And it just seems like these are the things that help set them up for success. And it's just like, okay, keep doubting them. Let's keep doing it because it seems to be paying off pretty good.
And I don't want to, dunk on someone who didn't do much last year, but it was all about Calvin Simpson Hunt coming in and being a guy who just played and won a national championship, and what can he bring? Hosea Wheeler has already had a big impact on this team before he's taken the field in a game. He's barely taken the field in practice for this team, and he is clearly making an impact, not just in the headlines, but in that locker room as well. So, man, am I excited for Hosea Wheeler. Oh, tell me how excited you guys are in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please, God, please. When we come back, we're going to talk about the hottest team on campus for the Baylor Bears. And it's probably the first time ever I'm saying it about this team. That is coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Kalshi. It's a new way to, share. Because until the college football season kicks off next week, folks, next week, everyone's going to be making predictions, whether they want to or not. Who's going to win the Big 12? Who makes the CFP? Who's lifting the whole trophy at the end of the season? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you could trade those predictions in a live market. If you're starting to buy into the Hosea Wheeler thing and you're like, Baylor's going to win 10 games, go right now. It's being traded at like 30%. You put $50 down, you can triple that if it actually happens. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. The house isn't winning here. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. You could trade the draft pick. You could trade the game. You could trade so much on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use the code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade $10. Not bet, trade. Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything. Promo code locked on, all caps, all one word. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk. It may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. It is that time of year, mid to late August, and all we're talking about is football. Not that football. The hottest team that wears Baylor across their chest in the year 2026. Not just this year, the whole year, not just this academic year. The Baylor Bears women's soccer team, the only soccer team that Baylor has. Couple of massive ranked wins. They take out top 10 Arkansas on the road, give them their worst loss in like 15 years, beat them 4-1, just crushed them, played them right off the park, as we would say across the pond. And then they take on another highly ranked A&M team at home, which has a lot of transfers that ended up at Baylor, and the Bears win it 2-1. 2 weeks ago, Sydney, they were not ranked at all before the season, not in the top 25. Now they are number 6 in the nation. I mean, what is going on at Betty Lou Mays Field? This is an awesome, awesome story.
It's insane. The Baylor Bears have come out with a spark and just an electricity that you can only hope translates across all the other sports across campus, because this has been so fun to just see. 2 games in, and they're having one of their best seasons in like 8 years or something crazy, like maybe even more than that. Like it's insane how good their start to the season is. And the craziest thing to me, you have a top 10 win against Arkansas, then you turn around to host A&M at home. You beat them 2-1. And Coach Michelle Leonard says, that wasn't even our best that we could play. She thinks the ceiling is even higher for this team. Yeah, it's crazy. But she was like, I think our team was still fatigued and tired from that win against Arkansas, but yet we still pulled out a win. She goes, that's a sign of a really good team that we're still pulling out wins, but I can promise you right now that was not the best game we'll play this season. And that kind of fire just only gets me more excited to catch some soccer games this season.
Man, this reminds me of 2017. It feels like 2017, man. I think that was the Elite Eight that year. I think that was right. What a start. I mean, obviously for Michelle Leonard, huge, still pretty early on in her tenure here, and it's starting to pay dividends. They had a good year last year. This looks like it's taking off even more. And you get that kind of World Cup frenzy. Summer soccer tournament frenzy. Please don't sue me. That we had all summer long, now kind of translating over. I mean, the Betty Lou was packed the other night. Like it was packed in that A&M game. It's like 100 degrees. Place is like sold out. Scotty B, the Baylor King, makes it onto the Twitter page. Man, congrats to Scotty. He's been at like every game ever that's been played there. So he knows ball. He's been there a long time. This is exciting for the program. And like you said, Sydney, and this is no joke, stuff like that does carry over when you get some big wins like that. And suddenly the fans that do go to football games or volleyball games are excited because they like the way that things are already going for Baylor in the fall season. Man, we might even get you to become like a hardcore soccer fan, Sydney. That might happen.
You do not have to convince me. Soccer was my sport my whole life, and like really the only sport I ever played. So love it. And I just think it's awesome too. I mean, you mentioned 2017. I remember like that was kind of like my first introduction to anything Baylor athletics because I remember following them that season and seeing the run that they had. Like that was really, really fun. And I think too, like you think about where the team went last year, they made it to the second or third round of the playoffs. I think they were knocking on the door of the Sweet 16 and just fell short. But for them to kind of literally pick up where they left off and had to replace some people and brought some transfers in, like it's incredible to see where this Baylor soccer team is at right now. And I just love Coach Michelle so much. Like we've got to talk to her quite a few times now. And she just like, she's tough. Like, don't get me wrong. She's so tough, but she has a way of just bringing a team together and just getting them so confident, but also so talented. And I think that's just so contagious.
I think they advanced on penalties in the Sweet 16 that year. I remember watching it at the F Shack, the Farrell Center, when I was a practicum student. So I had to do a couple Baylor Vision events. We were watching it in the control room, man. That was exciting. That was my junior year of college. So, we're throwing it back. But Baylor soccer, watch out. Who knows? Maybe we'll have some more Baylor soccer segments throughout this fall. If they keep beating top 10 teams, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm a big soccer fan, so I did watch a bit of the A&M game. I was fired up to see it. Tons of fun. Glad that somebody is already taking off. We can already say Baylor football is having a great 2026 season. I think that's going to be the way I go. That's going to be the thing I go with, Sydney.
I love it. Say it louder for the people in the back.
Baylor football. Are you having a laugh? Anyway.
10 out of 10, Cam. Great accent.
Brilliant, as I would say. Brilliant. It's a hell of a lot better than this Ted Lasso season, I'll tell you that much. Anyway, guys, if you're excited about Baylor athletics starting with soccer, let us know in the comments section below. And thanks, Sydney, for joining us today. Sydney, thank you once again for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Cam. We'll love to join every Wednesday.
I was going to say anytime, just as long as it's Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Get in the comment section, like and subscribe. Appreciate you making it your first listen today and every day. We will see you tomorrow on the next edition of your favorite show, which is, of course, Locked On Baylor.